Welcome back to From Corporate to Cashflow. We are Andrea Cannon and Liz Schwab, two pharmacists navigating the process of building time and financial freedom through real estate investing and lending while working our day jobs. Navigating the journey is difficult, but our podcast guests are experts at showing us how it's done. And today we have Dustin Siler with us today. Dustin, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
We're happy.
Yes, Dustin, we're very excited. Yes. So a fellow healthcare worker, of course. I think you're our second healthcare worker on this podcast and a PA. So excited to hear a little bit about your journey. So with that, go ahead and tell us about that. So where did you get started and kind of like where you headed in real estate?
Yeah, so a shout out to all the healthcare workers out there. It's it's a great field, but it tests you, it pushes you, but it's wonderful. So I've worked in healthcare for a long time. I started out in research actually as a clinical research associate. And then through doing research, I decided I wanted to do a lot more patient care. And so I worked with PAs, NPs, MDs. I'd been out of college so long at that point that I'd have to retake the MCAT. And I remembered zero about OChem or physics or anything else. And so I did not want to retake the MCAT. So the PA route seemed to be the way to go. And so I started, I had to redo a couple classes and stuff like that, but that's fine. I love learning. And so in 2013, I went to PA school to start my like patient care part of my medical journey, to get out of research and out of the research associate part and the data collection part and start getting more hands-on with patients, which is what I really love about medicine and healthcare. And funny enough, that was actually the start of my real estate journey as well, interestingly. Yeah.
Oh, what's the intersection there? How did that work?
Yeah, so I bought a home in 2008 that I was living in while I was a research associate. But if you know anything about 2008, that was a bad time to buy homes. That the bottom kind of fell out of the housing market at that point. And so by the time I went to PA school in 2013, the market had somewhat recovered, but it was still, I would have basically had to write a check to sell my house that I bought, my townhouse that I bought. Um, I was planning on coming back to Utah anyway. And so I just thought, well, I'm going to school. I can't sell this for what I need to get out of it. I'm planning on coming back. I'm just going to put somebody in there, put tenants in there. And so I'm in an HOA, and the HOA actually has a rental component. So I had them manage the property for me as a property manager. I paid $80 a month out of my own pocket while I was in school to keep this thing. But by the time I moved back to Utah, that townhouse had more than doubled in value by the time I got back. So,
Wow.
it was a fantastic accidental investment on my part.
Yeah, no, that's great. So it wasn't like, I don't want to use the word intentional, but you kind of fell into real estate in a sense. And maybe after you saw that the value had doubled, you were like, hey, maybe this is something that I can maybe make some extra income at.
Yeah, I have loved real estate for a really long time. I remember as a kid listening to my dad talk about land that he had purchased, and I knew where he had purchased it. It was up in, for those who know Utah, in Providence, and then he had a lot up in Bear Lake, and we go up to Bear Lake all the time, and I love Bear Lake, and I knew where he had purchased it, and I'm like, I want to be able to do that someday. This was when I was a kid, but I never in my mind put together the fact that I can actually do that until I left and just turned my townhome over to a property manager to put somebody in there. And then I said, hey, this is feasible. You can do this. It's easier than you think. You can get homes and do this. And also, it's really, really nice having somebody else pay your mortgage down. So that just kind of all, and then holding on to it. I hated writing the $80 a month check out of my own pocket to keep this thing and to pay for it every month. But when I got back and realized how much it had appreciated and how much I had gained, way more than I ever spent monthly on that $80. And that really clicked as well and said, hey, you know, these deals, the long-term investment is worth it, and you can actually do this.
Yeah, Utah, of course, is nice just because the houses tend to appreciate so much compared to maybe some of these other states. So I'd say maybe there's like a little element of luck there too for you. And I also laugh at the $80 a month, right? Because I know like when we're in school, like any type of money, you're like, oh, $50. But thinking of it now, you're like $80 a month for a double appreciation house, you know? So it's a funny little contrast here. So tell me a little bit more about like what you're focused in real estate currently.
Yeah. So currently I'm focused on co-living basically. As you said, Utah is a great market for appreciation in my opinion, but Utah is a tougher cash flow market. We do like everywhere, there's a housing shortage in the nation, and Utah's not, skipping that. I mean, they're part of that as well. There are just certain people and populations that need housing, and so the co-living model, which is where you have one house that you rent by the room basically to people, I think is a good way for us to be able to address the housing problem, the housing shortage that we have right now, get people into affordable situations where they can have housing, affordable housing, which is also difficult, especially in Utah because our home prices are still a little bit crazy. And so I think it's a great way to address some of those issues. My main focus is right now, I work with an organization that houses disabled adults. So I find the houses for them. I get a master lease in place with them, and then they're able to put their clients, patients in those homes. These are people that are high functioning. They want to live on their own. Maybe they can't stay at home anymore for whatever reason. They don't want to, or family just can't take care of them anymore. Parents age, things like that. They want to be living independently in these homes. And so it gives them a really great place to be able to go and have a room of their own. They've got staff on site 24/7 to help out with things and make sure that everybody's safe and taken care of. And it gives me an opportunity to find homes and provide good, safe, reliable housing for these people that may not have another option otherwise, which is really
Yeah.
great.
Absolutely. I mean, to your point, prices just continue to rise, and Utah's kind of really gotten out of control with the cost of rent in a lot of places, right? So it's definitely needed, and it's a great idea. I'm curious how you found this co-living avenue. Was it something that you learned from someone else? I mean, obviously you probably learned from someone else, but how did that even come about, right?
Yeah. So co-living itself, definitely I learned it from someone else. It wasn't something that was on my radar. I mean, I had had some experience with it, right? I've stayed in hostels and it's kind of similar to that, but that's what you think about when you think co-living. Are we talking dorms? Are we talking hostels? Like, I'm not in college anymore. I don't want to have a roommate. That's what we're thinking when we think of co-living.
Hmm.
Then, in the creative finance groups that I'm part of, specifically Subto, but also some of the other groups, and in people that I've met, that are doing this type of co-living situation, you start to learn that it's not just like a dorm type of situation. It's not a hostel. It's not bunk beds with each other and things like that. Everybody has their own space that is their personal private space. And then you just have a shared common area, but it's far more affordable. So that's where I kind of learned it, was in these groups. There's organizations out there that will manage these co-living type of properties for you, and can help you figure out, the best way to set them up and how to fill the properties and things like that. So I learned from those organizations as well. The group that I personally work with, my co-living situation is slightly different than normal co-living. Um, I have a master lease in place with an actual group. And so they are the ones that fill the property. So my lease is with the organization itself. And I'm looking for more organizations to be able to provide housing to, actually, more of these types of organizations that actually house these disadvantaged populations, be it disabled adults, be it domestic abuse survivors, be it homeless, be it whatever the population is that is disadvantaged and needs a safe place to house. I'm looking for more of these groups to bring housing to. And so that is a little bit safer on my end because I don't have to, and it's easier, honestly, from a management standpoint because I don't have to worry about filling the rooms. But it's just one type of way of providing these co-living homes.
That's awesome to hear. And I mean, I think we've heard so many different avenues of co living or rent by the room strategies with pad split, with other things. Some people turn like a 3 bedroom, 2 bath into like some crazy 10 bedroom,
Yeah,
5 bath thing, even though it's still a 3 bedroom, 2 bath footprint. Can
yep.
you tell us a little bit more about the types of properties that you're targeting given your, specific niche of people that you're renting this to?
hmm Yeah, absolutely. So in general, the bread and butter that I'm looking for is like a 3 bed to 6 bed home, and then like a 2 to 3 bath, or maybe a 4 bath or whatever. Baths don't matter quite as much as long as there's probably two or more.
Mhm.
But generally, we're looking at a 3 to 6 bed, and the reason for that is because of licensing issues in the state of Utah with these organizations. It's easier for them to get licensed up to 6 beds. Everything changes with your commercial licensing and things like that after you go over 6 beds for these organizations. So that's why we tend to keep it 3 to 6. I can add bedrooms sometimes to these homes if there's enough space for that. So if it's a 2 or 3 bedroom with extra space, I can turn that space into extra bedrooms if it fits. But that's typically what I'm looking for, is about a 3 to 6 bed, 2 to 4 bath ish in there. It works great if it's a single level home, because sometimes a lot of these people can't get downstairs to basements. It's not always necessary. It works really well if it's a single level, because you got wheelchairs and all that kind of stuff. But I don't rule out a basement. The two properties that I have with this organization do have basements in them. So it's not a deal killer if it has a basement, but it's helpful if it's all single level. Um, Ramps and things. I add a ramp to the property for wheelchair access if necessary. It doesn't have to have any of that kind of stuff. We can make adjustments and retrofit things like that for it. Right now, I'm specifically looking in like the Clearfield, West Haven area is where they want to take a look at things. I'll look at it most places in Utah, especially major cities, even down south, Nephi, Cedar City, all of those types of areas, they have homes. And then, like I said, I am looking for more organizations to partner with. And so if there's organizations out there that have a need, I would certainly look wherever their need is, but almost anywhere along the Wasatch Front right now.
Awesome. And are these creative finance properties, or are you also looking at like DSCR loans or things like that?
Yeah, so both. I will do either one. I just finished a rehab on a property that I'm refinancing out right now. We turned it into a 6 bed, 3 bath house for this organization. And um, actually, two people got their first deal helping me out on this job, which was really, really fantastic. It was fun to get them their first deal and see how excited they were about it. But we did it traditional. It was basically a BRRRR where you
Mhm.
buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So we're in the middle of the DSCR, should be closing that next week, I think, or the week right after, in a few days, with the DSCR loan. And so I'll do traditional stuff for it, which is where having a job really helps. It helps me get financing on these types of more traditional financing things. But I love creative financing. If I can do them creative, I prefer to. It's just easier, it's faster, it's more efficient. But I don't turn down a more traditional rehab type of situation.
That's awesome. No, that's really cool. And absolutely congratulations on helping people get their first deal. Like, I think that's one of the coolest aspects about being involved in the communities is helping other people out and seeing them get their first deal. Cause I don't know about you, but like before I knew about creative finance and then learned about it, I was like, this has got to be a scam. And then, of course, you get your first deal and you're like, it's not a scam, but it's like this light switch period where you're like before it, then after, and it's like you turn it on, and then from then on, it's like you believe and can move forward with like getting more deals, right? I think it's really cool to have, and help facilitate those other people having that light switch moment, just like you have here. So that's really awesome. And I know recently you've been appointed the Sub 2 leader of Utah. So tell us a little bit about how that's going.
No, it's great. I mean, that's why I was able to help people get their first deals, right? Is they had seen me at these regional meetups that we do, which is fantastic. I mean, that's what it's all about. It was great for me to be able to have the lenders come in and do this deal with me, and it was great for them. They were so excited to be able to get their first deal. So being in that position has been wonderful. We've got a meetup coming up in February of next year, and we're ramping up to that with trying to help as many people as possible get their first deals. So as the regional leader in the area, that is one of my goals, is to try and bring as many people together from the different specialties to help people, whatever their experience or expertise, get deals if they haven't done one yet. Which means I need a lot of help with people who have done deals, and need a lot of people who haven't done that need deals. But it's really fun, right, to be able to hold these meetups and get to see people in the community and chat with them and interact with them and watch their progress and watch how, they go from doing their first deal to their 10th, and now they're doing deals with people and helping them get their first deal. And it's really, there's so many great people in the area doing such amazing work. I love hearing the stories of what everybody's doing. And it's just so fun to be able to meet with all of the group and kind of enjoy doing the work together. It's been a really good experience.
That's so awesome. I mean, we really appreciate having good leaders and having people here that are helping other people get deals done. And so it's been awesome to see you step into this role as the lead, the Subto regional leader. So once again, super, super appreciate it.
I
Now, I
appreciate
want
it.
to just, yeah, of course. I want to think about your role as a PA. And, with Liz and I both being pharmacists, we kind of hear this a lot. It's like you have a good job. What is making you want to do anything with real estate? So, is there anything in particular that inspired you to look for ways to create passive income or wealth, like outside of your job as a PA?
Hmm. Yeah, great question. Great question. I think, um, I don't want to work in a hospital for the rest of my life. I got into medicine to do humanitarian work. The way that I really initially got interested in medicine was volunteer organizations internationally. When I was in Zimbabwe, I worked with a group called Eyes for Zimbabwe. I did some community service at pharmacies there. I was counting a lot of pills. You guys know all about this. And I was doing a lot of work like that. And then during my undergrad, I went to Ghana and I did a clinical attachment at a teaching hospital down there. And I was so passionate about doing these types of humanitarian service work, mission work, whatever you want to call it, that's what really got me interested in medicine to begin with. And so my goal is to eventually be able to work where I want to work when I want to work, right? Because humanitarian work doesn't pay a lot, at least not, you have to, maybe some people do, but for the work I've been doing, it doesn't pay very much. So my goal with outside sources of income is to be stable enough that I can choose when I work at a hospital, because I still do love being in the OR and doing, the work that I do as a PA at the hospital and the patients that I get to see. But I want to also be out in the field helping those that are disadvantaged and can't get to a hospital. I want to bring the medicine to them as well. And so I want to be able to have that financial security to be able to do that, to set up organizations that can go to the places that hospitals don't go and treat the patients that hospitals can't get to. And in order to do that, I need to have passive income from other sources. Now, the great thing about that is as I was a PA working full time as a PA, and looking at how can I establish passive income, that full-time W-2 has allowed me to be secure in my investments. My first couple lending deals that I did went horribly wrong, but I could tolerate it because I was in a W-2. It was a learning curve for me, for sure, right? And that's one of the reasons I love helping people do their first job or first deal, because I can point out the pitfalls and say, let's not do this. Let's make sure you're secure. But the W-2 allowed me the grace to be able to make those mistakes and learn and grow without losing everything that I had because I made dumb learning mistakes. It gave me the security to be able to learn and grow while I was doing it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that a lot of people struggle with, when should I quit my W-2? And that journey always looks different for everyone, right? It doesn't mean you have to quit. You can continue it on, have that stable job income. So I like that example. And I also want to point out, I relate to your uh, why a lot of investing in real estate, right? So I think that's great. I too would like to make money so that I can go do things that don't pay well, right? Such as like help the homeless and all those other things where, unfortunately, those individuals aren't compensated very well. So I relate to that. And I think that is a great a way to push you forward. So I just wanted to make that comment too.
That's
Um,
great.
the the other thing I wanted to ask about is just your journey in general. Can you think of like maybe one thing in particular that you know now that you wish that you would have known earlier on in your journey?
Hmm. I think the biggest thing is, and it's a common quote, and probably most people have heard it, but if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So if you really, and actually, I might even say if you want to go fast, go together. If you want to really exponentially increase what you're doing and jump, you can't do it on your own. You have to do it with other people. The sooner you meet more people and the more connections you make, the faster and the further you're going to move in this journey, because somebody has what you need and you have what somebody else needs, and you never know where you're going to find them or what it's going to be until it clicks. And the only way to do that is to get out and meet a bunch of people. And it may be down the road where suddenly you have something that pops up and you remember somebody you met at a meetup 5 months ago, and you're like, that's the guy. That was why I needed to meet him. And so I think we networking has such a negative connotation. I hate the term networking. I don't like it because I think of, as you, I know you guys do, like with pharmacy, right? We all go to these conferences and you think about standing around at chest high tables with drinks in your hand and little non-filling appetizers and schmoozing with people that you've never met before and will never meet again. And everybody's like got their sales voice on and they're putting on this presentation. And like, that's the networking we think of, right? And it's like, here's my business card. And you're like, okay, great. you know, but in this type of situation with real estate, it's not networking, it's making friends, right? And it's doing deals with friends. That's what I want to do, is I want to do awesome stuff with awesome people. And the more friends you can make in this environment, the more you're going to do, because you're going to lift each other and you're going to push each other and you're going to, help each other be excited and stay excited. And it's not just those networking events that forces everybody to come together and tell an icebreaker. It's actually getting to know each other and making friends and going together on the journey, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
You literally took the words right out of my brain. So often I feel the term networking feels like icky, right? Because it feels so transactional, and that's what I hate about it. But at the end of the day, if you have transactional friendships within networking, that's not going to work for you long term, right?
Right.
And so we really need to navigate away from basically what you described, that transactional networking, to actually creating friends and growing relationships and having that genuine intent versus like, hey, here's my business card, see you later. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
love the way that you described that, because I think so many of us think of it in the same way, where you're like, oh, I don't want to network. Like, no, that's weird, right? So
Yep.
that is great. Yeah. And then I know you described that being the leader with Subto in Utah, that it's been a great experience for you, but and how you had like that deal recently because of the individuals that were going to the meetup, they came to you. Is there anything else that you've noticed from these meetups that would encourage someone to start attending them if maybe they're nervous to start going? Maybe they have that same conception, where they're like, oh, I don't networking, don't want to do it.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you the number of people who have expressed to me after they come to a meetup how nervous they were to come and how glad they were once they got there. And I'll have people, when we send out the event, the event link and things like that, that will email me and ask, I'm not a member of the community, can I still come? Right? Because these are it's a sub 2 community meetup. Well, in my opinion, anybody that's a go-giver, anybody that has an attitude of service and an abundance mindset and wants to get out there and hustle and make something happen and wants to help other people and lead with value and do awesome things with people, to me, you're a member of the community and you're welcome. And that's what I tell them when they ask me. And so the more people we can get there, the better. And when people who are nervous about it come and they realize how friendly everybody is and how great it is to just meet with people and have friends. I mean, last time we had a meetup, we had a potluck and people were bringing brownies. And I think it's Utah. There was Jello. I mean, there was pasta salad, right? Like, and it was just a cool time. We're just hanging out, chatting and having a great time talking about real estate. And there was people there it was their first time and they'd never done a deal and they were brand new to real estate and they were brand new to the community. And they expressed how happy they were that they came. And one guy specifically told me he was considering not coming, and then he decided to just come, and he was so happy that he did. So if somebody out there is nervous about it and thinking about it and wondering if they're welcome, first off, yes, you're welcome. Absolutely. Everybody's welcome. Please come, find me, introduce yourself. Let me know it's your first time. I would love to meet whoever it is. But second, come. And if you have a bad experience, don't come back again. You can leave after 2 minutes if you're having a bad experience. If you don't enjoy being there, but what's it going to hurt you to just show up and give it a shot, right? Probably don't have anything else better to do on a random Tuesday, Wednesday night, right? Show up for 5 minutes. See what the vibe is. And if you don't like it, go. And you can send me an email and tell me how bad it was and tell me what we need to change and we'll make changes. and
Mhm.
we'll try and be better next time. But just give it a shot. Give it a try. What do you got to lose? You know?
I love that. We don't bite, so
Well, don't
that's
bite, and we'll give you food. I mean,
right. Yeah. And I think like, it even if you're not in the community, I feel like that's maybe even a better time to come to see if one, maybe you're interested in the community, or two, maybe you're not at all.
yeah,
But you still want to do deals. Like there's so many opportunities. You don't have to just join a community in order to get things done. So it's nice to actually have people outside the community bring a different perspective sometimes. So that's
absolutely. And I'll say too, for anybody that's worried about it being a sales pitch when you come to these meetups, we don't even discuss joining Subto or any of the other communities. If you want more information on it, we're happy to talk about it. But there is no pitch, there is no sign up, there is no anything like that. We are just discussing real estate or discussing topics that we feel are helpful for things. We're just making connections and finding people, and there's no sales pitch. At least I hope there's not. I really try hard not to make any of these sound, salesy or anything like that. It's really just a group of friends coming together to talk and learn and grow together.
I don't think at any single meetup I've been to, I've ever heard a sales pitch for Sub 2. I didn't even think about it actually until you mentioned that. So I don't know if Liz, you see you're nodding in agreement. Like, I don't think I've ever heard that before. So that's a good point. Like, it's definitely not a sales pitch. It's just people getting together to do deals together. So
Yeah,
yes, anybody who's listening, especially if you're in Utah, you should come out to one of our Sub 2 meetups.
absolutely.
Um, so, you're balancing so many things, right? You've got your PA work and you're even a traveling PA, which we haven't even touched on at all. But I know that adds in a whole nother layer of everything. And on top of that, you're doing real estate and you're leading the Sub 2 community in Utah. Have you developed any habits or routines to keep you productive and stay focused on your goals that you want to share with anyone else?
Oh man, that's. I'll be honest. That's been really hard because, as you guys know, in medicine, the schedules are crazy. And so when I go cover some of the areas that I cover, one of my jobs, I'm on call 24/7 for the 2 weeks that I'm there. So, I could get called in the middle of the night, whatever. You never know. I might have 3 hours of work one day, or I might have 16 hours of work that day or more. Right. And so it's really hard to have a consistent schedule with my job the way it is right now. But what I do find that is helpful is staying in touch with people who motivate you, who are a good example to you. I have some great friends in the Sub 2 community and out of the Sub 2 community that I touch base with regularly that are doing awesome things. I jump on Zooms with them. I jump on Zooms in the community to stay motivated. I love to read, so I always try and read, be reading some sort of motivational or educational book. I don't really read fiction. I like to read books where I can learn something. So if there's a topic that I feel like I might be struggling on or falling off on, I'll do Audible or I'll do read the physical book. I spend a lot of time in planes and airports, so it's nice to have a book with you to pull out and read when you're there. So I'm sure you know that, Andrea, how that feels. So
Yeah, Andrea, if anyone knows the airports back and forth, like
yeah,
her hand. So
yeah,
yes, yes,
absolutely.
that's great. I hear that a lot actually. That I don't know if it's a probably a real estate group thing or just people that are trying to advance in their life, acquire new skills that they're trying to read like self help books or like learn and learn. They're like, I'm not reading about like I don't know, wizards and stuff. I'm like, give me stuff that I can like implement into my real life.
Yeah,
So I actually just had a conversation with a friend the other day, and she was like, "Do you ever read anything like fun?" And I was like, That is fun to me. Like I like learning about those things. Like
yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I love those types of books. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I love some of the old classics too. Like I'll read Tolstoy and things like that. I love actually some of his works. So the historical, fiction and that kind of stuff, I enjoy that occasionally. It's just when time is a premium, you just try
Yeah,
and, budget accordingly, and you try and kind of multitask what you're doing. So if you're traveling, why not learn at the same time? Listen to a podcast, watch a Zoom recording,
for
read a
sure.
book that's going to teach you something and help you out. I mean, it's kind of otherwise it's just downtime sitting in an airport. So I try and multitask and add, to my life while I'm doing that in order to kind of, get that benefit.
Yeah,
But
definitely. So,
there's nothing wrong with taking a break and relaxing with whatever type of fiction book you want. It's just the time and the place, right?
yeah, definitely. So going back to you giving advice, because these are my favorite types of questions. So if we have someone new in their real estate, like financial independence journey,
Mhm.
in 30 seconds, like what type of advice would you give them?
Whew, 30 seconds. Okay. The first thing that I would do is I'd say get a basic understanding of real estate terms and what's going on with real estate. So YouTube, whatever you want to do, use Chat GPT and just say what are the basic terms that I need to know because there's a lot of acronyms, there's a lot of terms, right? You need to know how a deal progresses from start to finish, and Chat GPT or YouTube video can break that down for you. So get a base level, basic just so that when somebody throws out title or escrow or whatever the term is, you know what they're talking about. After you have a real basic understanding of real estate technology and terms, then I would figure out what your passion is because there are a million different ways that you can participate in investing and in real estate. You can be a lender, you can be a buyer, you can be a deal finder, you can be a transaction coordinator, you can be a helper, there's a million different things. In the Subto community, we call them avatars. And for people who want to see more about that, Pace Morby has done an awesome YouTube video on the avatars, the different types of avatars. I always recommend to people, whether you're in the community or not, it's on his YouTube channel. You can just go Google his series on avatars and find out what speaks to you. Which avatar do you most closely relate to at this time in your life? You don't have to stay there, but start there and focus on that. So you get a base understanding of things, find out where your passion is and what speaks to you at this point where you're at in your life. Do you need active income in right now today, or do you have a W-2 and you can wait for the appreciation down the road? So find out what speaks to you. Once you've done that, then connect to somebody that's doing work in that area. So if you want to be a lender, connect with a lender and do your first deal or two with someone who is experienced and is doing the deals in the area. If you're a buyer, connect with a buyer, bring them a deal and have them walk you through how they buy it and what they do with it. You may not get paid on that first one, or you may not get paid a lot, but you will get the education and the experience from it. And so your first couple deals, I always recommend you do with somebody that's a little bit ahead of you. So that would be the initial start.
Yeah, that's great. It's a super common theme that we hear when we ask people on the podcast this question, which I think it's good that it's a common theme because I think it's excellent advice, right? You want to go and pair with people that are experts or they're doing what you want to do, and you basically mimic what they're doing. So I love that. I'm super curious. So, your other colleagues that are in healthcare, whether it be other PAs or maybe just MDs, have they reached out to you? Like, do you share this with them at all, or are you more quiet on that end, or what does that look like?
It depends on the group I'm working with at the time.
Okay, that's fair. That's
So
fair.
when I think I talk more about it with my traveling group, my traveling colleagues than I do, at the full time W-2 type positions. Mostly because a lot of times while I'm at those jobs, I'm getting calls about houses and things like that, or I'm having to do something, with like a renovation, or I'm taking a quick call with a contractor and they're asking me about it. Or anytime I travel to a new area, I'm looking at houses in that area. So um, yeah, I've talked to them about it. They're interested. A lot of them have done some type of investing, especially surgeons and MDs and things like that. A lot of them. I work with a crew in Boise, and many of them own multiple homes. Partially because they used to live somewhere else and then they moved to a new location and they bought a new home and they've just kept them. But real estate is a great thing to invest in. They're not making more land. Everybody needs a place to live. That's not going away. And so in my opinion, the greatest investment you can make besides in yourself is real estate, because that's a thing that everybody's going to need forever. And so a lot of these guys who are smart have already started investing a little bit, and then if they've already done some deals and they're talking to me about how they need to make more to buy more deals, now the creative conversation comes in and how you can buy without having to have so much money and that kind of stuff. So there has been a little bit of it there, but I try not to push it unless somebody kind of broaches the subject, because I don't want to come off as pushy and sales guy.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But it is funny how like Liz had mentioned, you're a second healthcare professional that's been on. That's not us two, because we've interviewed each other as well, but we had another PA, and it's kind of similar in her story as well. And I think, there's a lot of people in the healthcare setting that either realize that they would like to have some passive income or have already like started on that journey. So it's really cool that you're able to share that, especially now that you're traveling and interacting with even more people.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah.
it's
It's great.
awesome.
I think it's really funny in healthcare. You get people that graduate and start making way more money than they did during school or residency or whatever, and you get kind of two different ends of it. You get the people that show up in a really really nice car and have a brand new mortgage boat and things like that, and then you get the other people that are like, I've got all this money, I'm going to put it to work, and so it's really interesting to kind of see the dichotomy between the two.
100%. Oh my goodness, that makes so much sense. So a little bit of a fun question for you, since we have talked about you doing a little more traveling, mostly for work, but just curious if you have, we're looking at things outside of just making more money and hopefully enhancing our lives at the same time. So goal is to travel, explore the outdoors a little bit more, have fun while we're on this wealth building journey. So I want to hear just if you have any bucket list adventures or anything you're hoping to accomplish in the next year or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I love traveling. I love outdoors. I love hiking, all that kind of stuff. Teton National Park is one of my favorite places in the world. I love it up there. So, one of my long-term goals is to hike every mapped trail on the parks map in Teton National Park. So, I've got, I'm close to half of them now, but I got a ways to go.
Goodness, that's so cool. And like, so tell people, because both me and Liz are familiar with where that is relative to where you are right now in your traveling journey, but tell people how far away that is from where you're traveling currently. And then, how many trails are even on the map that you're aware of? Like, how close are
Oh,
you?
yeah, I don't even know how many trails are actually on the map. I have a map that I just highlight every trail that I do on there, and then anytime I go up, I used to have a timeshare up there, but they just sold it out from underneath me. So the whole company sold. So I now have to find other ways to get up there. But I just mark it off with my highlighter every time I go do a trail. So I'm not sure how many there are, but Jackson and Teton is about 4.5, 5 hours from where I live. And then when I'm traveling, I'm not able to really get there when I'm traveling. It's about, when I go to Wyoming to travel, it's probably about 4 hours from where I'm at in Wyoming. If I'm in Idaho, it's like 6 to 8 hours probably from where I'm at. But I love getting up there. It's one of my favorite places, but I love all those outdoor adventures. I actually, in combination with the medicine part of it, me and somebody that I work with at one of my traveling jobs want to go hike in Nepal, hike the Everest Base Camp Trail. It's a 17-day trek that we're going to do. And it's part of, they do advanced wilderness life support training along the way. So you end up with your certification in advanced wilderness life support as you make this trek to base camp of Everest. So I think next fall is when we're trying to get that set up.
Oh my goodness. Have you chatted with Rachel Davis? Because she was actually a guest on our podcast and wrote a book about her trek to Everest Base Camp. And she did her first creative finance deal on that trek because she had Wi Fi, which is crazy.
So cool. I haven't actually had a chance to talk with her. I know about her and her book, and I would love to chat with her about it. I haven't had a chance to yet, but I definitely need to connect with her. I didn't realize she'd done a creative finance deal on it. That's so cool.
I need to stop doing these podcasts because I feel so lazy every time I hear about what everyone else is doing. And the fact that this has come up twice now, this is blows my mind. But it's a great goal. I love that for you. That's it's great. Okay, so let's just recap here. So if someone wants to work with you, Dustin, tell us what specifically again you're looking for and like what
Yeah.
types of properties, location, etc.
Yep, sure. So the first thing I'm looking for is more organizations that need help finding housing. If somebody's out there works with or for an organization and they need help finding housing, we've got an army of people out there finding housing. I would love to help them find the housing, get it in the books and get them in it. And one of my goals too, when working with these organizations, and I've told the organization I work with now, my goal is to be your go-to guy. I want to provide you such good, safe, comfortable housing that you never feel like you're being taken advantage of or living in this. I'm never going to be a slumlord, not ever. And I want everybody that stays in one of my houses to feel comfortable and at home. So any of these organizations that need help with that, I would like to connect with them. Then I need more deals for that, right? So houses, 3 to 6 bed, 2 to 4 bath, a single level is great, not necessary. Right now, specifically Clearfield, West Haven area, but again, all along the Wasatch Front. And actually, some of these organizations are outside of Utah as well. And so once I get a clearer picture of where they are, I know we're looking at New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, and Washington, I think. Um, so we'll be trying probably to connect and maybe branch out more into those states with these organizations as well. I'm starting to move towards looking to do maybe one flip property a quarter, partially just to have some additional like active income coming in to obtain more of these homes for the groups that I'm working with, and partially because I want to help people do more deals. And so if I can get a couple lenders or a couple, like a contractor that's new to the community that wants to partner on a deal and they do the work, and we can kind of split the profits and stuff like that. I'm trying to do maybe one flip a quarter to help people get more deals under their belt, help people do their first deals or get more deals under their belt. So I'm looking for good flip properties. Right now, I would need it to be probably 65% ARV after repair value, in order to make sense as a flip property. So there's that. And then the biggest thing is I'm always looking for money lenders to do these deals with. So people that, and a lot of times people don't consider being a lender as doing a deal, and they'll lend on these deals, and then they say they haven't done a deal. I'm like, yes, you have. You're part of the deal. That's part of it,
Guilty.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a way to get your first deal done and to learn the process as you go, right? And it doesn't have to be big. I have lenders that have, given 10,000 to a deal, and that's, or less sometimes. It doesn't have to be huge. You can combine people together, but it helps more people get deals done and get the experience and get the education. So I'm always looking for lenders, small and large. I have one project that I'm in kind of negotiations on right now that is a very, very large project. So if we get an actual offer in on that, I would need some pretty hefty lenders on that. It will be a co-living property, a 14 unit co-living property. So yeah, it would turn into be a big one. It's approved by the city and everything. It's just negotiations with the seller at this point. But yeah, so small and large lenders across the board, just anybody that wants to get a deal done or help people get deals done. I want to work with them.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot. So obviously, there's a lot of opportunities for people with different backgrounds to work with you going forward, which is even greater incentive for them to go to the next meetup or any of the other future meetups to meet you and see, what's available. I'd love to hear about this co-living situation, if it does move forward, just selfishly, and to maybe help you find some other people that would be interested in being involved too. So I'd love to follow
Absolutely.
that. So
Yes.
on that note, what is the best way for either our listeners or anyone watching this to be able to get in contact with you going forward?
Sure. Yeah. Instagram is a great way to get me, either Instagram or Facebook. Dustin Siler on Facebook. That's my Instagram right there at the underscore Dustin J. Shoot me a DM, or even better yet, come to the meetups. I always post the meetups on my Instagram and Facebook. We also have an Eventbrite link, and if you're part of the Subto community, it's on the Subto calendar, so you can always find it there. But if you want to get a quicker response from me, and we're close to a meetup, come to the meetup and introduce yourself and let's talk. I would love to meet people that want to do work together. Love to see what we can figure out. But if you can't make a meetup, or there's not one in the near future, shoot me a DM on Facebook or Instagram, and I'd love to connect with some more people.
That's awesome. Well, we have really appreciated having you on, Dustin. This has been so enlightening. And once again, we really appreciate everything that you've done for the Utah community so far, as you have started being the Utah Regional Subto leader. And I know you'll be this person for a while going forward. So really appreciate that, because helping those people get their first deal is really truly something special, and it changes the game and trajectory of their lives, honestly. So you're doing really amazing work, and we super appreciate it. And it's been great to learn from you today. So thanks so much for coming on here. And thank you everyone for listening to this week's episode of From Corporate to Cashflow. We will catch you next week. Hey, it's Andrea. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you liked it, I'd love it if you hit subscribe. Thanks so much.